Good morning, my friends. What if I told you that today is a fresh start? It's almost like a new year. I know that's supposed to be January 1st, okay? And I'm not trying to take away anybody's new year fun that they get to have, but right now is your opportunity for a real fresh start because we have the spring equinox that has happened. And I don't know if you know much about ancient civilizations. I've dug into it before, but they love to celebrate this as their new year. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And we're going to also give you some idea about where this spring equinox is hitting on your birth chart so you can better understand in which areas of life you are feeling that fresh new start, new beginnings, new action to be taken. So let's go ahead and get started with that. But first, welcome. My name is Aubrey Barr, and I'm so excited you are here with us to listen to this podcast episode. I hope it brings you a lot of inspiration and direction for your life right now in this very moment. I created this podcast over 2 years ago to have a space for creative entrepreneurs to be able to look at how our mindset and our past experiences are showing up for us in our businesses and how we can use that for the better to help us heal, to help us grow, and to help us get to those big goals we have. So without further ado, welcome. And I hope you guys enjoy it. If you feel so inspired, I love reviews. They're so awesome for me to be able to understand what you guys are looking for and what of these topics are resonating with you. So let's get started today with the spring equinox. This is why it's the real new year, okay? The spring equinox happens when day and night are equal. Okay, symbolizing balance, renewal, and a fresh cycle beginning. So I just want you to think about the seasons right now. Okay, we go through this cycle in seasons where things are growing, they're blossoming. There's a lot of new birth, right? Because there's a mating season too for animals. And then we come into kind of where things start falling away, and that's in the fall. That's when we see the leaves fall, not in Florida, but in a lot of places, that's when you'll see that. And then winter comes in and things kind of die off. Okay. And I won't get into Florida and how different we are, but we do still have that process happening, just not the same time as most people. But as we come into spring, again, that's new. It's fresh. It's the beginning. Okay. And so when you look at it that way, it makes perfect sense that this is where astrology starts. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. And that's because it's right now, actually yesterday for when you guys will listen to this, but we're talking about March 20th. So it makes perfect sense that ancient civilizations celebrated March 20th or the date around there as the spring equinox and as their renewal. It's their festival. It's like resetting power. There's a lot of cultures and beliefs that still celebrate that way. Okay, so that was just common knowledge. And I think it's really, really kind of funny to look at just the weather in that sense and think, well, this does feel like a new beginning. I mean, I talk a lot about energy and our subconscious mind. And I have to tell you, there is a definite energy shift in people and in us right now at this time of year where we're like, okay, that's why we do spring cleaning, right? We're like, okay, let's get rid of the old stuff because the new is actually happening now and we need to be in that moment. So going with that flow will always be an efficient way to get us further in life. It'll always be the way that we're being naturally led. Okay, so why fight that, right? All right, so as we talk about the sun entering Aries, which is what has happened now, depending on when you're listening to this, this is the beginning. Aries is the spark that ignites action. Okay, it's courage. It's bold beginnings. It's not just like we flow into this beginning. No, it's like decision-making time. There is really this vibe of New Year's resolution right now. Okay. So Aries is ruled by Mars. This brings passion, drive, and the push to start new ventures. Okay. And it's all about independence, leadership, unapologetically going after what you want, right? This is the vibe right now. Before I get into the rising signs and where you guys are each feeling this Aries and Sun rotate through your chart, let's talk a little bit about Mercury retrograde, because we are talking about fresh beginnings and doing new things and, being able to make decisions and whatever else is going on in your world. But we all know that during Mercury retrograde, we don't want to start something new. So this is where this kind of gets a little nitty gritty, and I want to go over it with you. I know we talk a lot about Mercury retrograde, and I know there's a lot of misconceptions. Okay. So what I do want to say is, while we're not coming up with ideas and acting on them right now, like, we're going to make this resolution for the rest of the year, we're going to do X, Y, Z. We just came up with it today and it hit us like a ton of bricks, right? We're not acting on that decision. However, there's a lot of things going on in life where for the past few months, you've been sitting with an idea and I know it's there. And it's like, okay, I've been thinking about doing this. I'm feeling really pulled to do it, but I don't want to start it yet. Or I don't feel like I have the motivation, or I don't feel like I have the time right now. Well, now in Mercury retrograde, there is an opportunity to finish things that were already kind of started. And so look at it that way. So while we're not going to just act on that brand new idea, it is totally okay to finish projects that already had planted a seed from months prior. And that is essentially what's going on with a lot of people. I mean, I know people who are like, I've been thinking about writing this book for 2 years, and then I really felt it hit me this year, and yet I haven't started it. Now would be a great time to start it, right? Because you have to also understand, for those of you that do follow astrology a little bit, or even if you don't, we've been in Mars retrograde all of December. Now, okay, half of December and then into half of February, we were in Mars retrograde. We just talked about Mars. This is the passion, the drive, and it was going backwards. And so people were having ideas, but they weren't acting on them because it didn't feel right. And so now we're Mercury retrograde. It's totally okay to finish those thoughts out and think about how long it takes something to plant in your mind. It totally could have already had those roots established and you just haven't acted on yet. So keep that in mind as we go through each of these signs, because I don't want you to think I can't start anything new. Well, no, if you've been thinking on something, there's a chance it's already kind of lit that fire in you, but it had nowhere to point it. And now that the sun is in Aries, you're now getting a chance to really full on tackle that. Okay, we're going to go through and do readings for where that sun is hitting your chart. So it's going to be the house, okay? And I'm breaking these up based on fire, earth, air, and water signs. Now, I haven't decided how I really like to do this, so that's what I'm sticking to for now. But if you guys have any feedback, you can shoot me an email and tell me how you prefer the list to go out, okay? Okay, so for fire signs, Aries rising. So this is literally your season, okay? This is all about you. The sun is in your first house. So this lights up your identity, your confidence, your personal goals, even the way you look, right? You might feel like really motivated to make sure you put on your makeup and do your hair every day. Or you might feel really motivated to put personal goals to paper, right? Things that you really have on your mind. That's a really good time for it. So it's time to reinvent yourself in a lot of ways. You can make bold moves here. You could take charge of your destiny. Is there things going on in life where you're like, I really wish that I looked more into manifestation and really understood how I could do that? This might be a really good time to kind of push in that direction. Although with the full moon eclipse, manifestations are better thought about than actually pursuing right now. But the season is going to change and you're going to already want those on your mind. You're going to want those details about where you want to go in your life. And I think this is a really strong placement for you to really tackle, like, what do I really want to see in my world? And then ask yourself, like, who am I becoming? What version of myself do I get to step into now? Because it's all about that mindset first. As you all know, it's something I talk about a lot. Our mindset and our intentionality is the direction that we're going to go in. So think about that as this sun moves into Aries now. Next fire sign is the Leo rising. So this is actually happening in your 9th house. You guys, this is all about long distance travel, right? Think about foreign lands. It's higher education. It doesn't have to be college education. It could be even getting an extra certification. I had some cool things happening in my ninth house when I chose to do my astrology certification. And I know I was like, I mean, I didn't know at the time, but when I looked back, I was like, oh, that's what was going on. So this is a really great place to expand your learning and your understanding and even your spiritual expansion to some degree, because this is all about philosophies. It's about other religions and your religion. It's a great way to kind of understand other cultures, which is a lot of fun. You may feel called to explore new philosophies. You may feel like it's time to sign up for this course I've been thinking about, or maybe it's time to plan an adventure and really get into the details and feeling inspired on that route. Big main thing here is personal growth, right? It's expansion. And so what new experiences are going to help you grow? That's the question you get to ask. And if you feel like things are already moving into your life in that direction, then maybe it's a good time to act on them, right? One last thing here, ninth house is also about book publishing. And so there could be a call or a feeling to maybe publish a book that you've always had on your mind or something like that. So it's a really cool place. I can't wait to see what's going on with you, you guys. And if there's anything that sound like it just hit, let me know, because I love hearing back from you guys. All right, moving into Sagittarius rising. So this is happening in your fifth house. The sun in the fifth house is going to bring creative inspiration. It's going to shine a light on your creativity. So for creatives, this is like magic time. This is like new projects, new ideas. Oh my goodness, I didn't know I wanted to go in this direction with my creativity. This is such an amazing place for you. There's also romance here, and there's also playfulness, and it's almost like that childhood kind of playfulness. Okay, so getting on the floor and just goofing off and wasting time. It's like that need to go back to a child. And I love that. And it's perfect time to reignite your passion. So like I was saying, if there's a creative project that you feel like it's been on your mind, how do I even do this? Use this motivational energy and the boldness and the courage that's coming in here to really put that on your plate and say, okay, I'm ready. And the coolest thing with having it here is that this is all about embracing more joy, right? So this isn't just, I'm going to put it out there. No, this is like, I'm having so much fun doing this right here. This is the house of fun. Okay. And so that is a beautiful place for you to grow and expand because you're actually enjoying life. And if you find yourself not enjoying it, I would tell you, let's get more into the creativity side. What else are you wanting to create? Because there's some kind of block there. And we talk about that a lot in my subconscious work, but sometimes we have blocks that are like, I feel so inclined to start this project, but yet I don't feel like I can. And maybe there's some self-esteem things going on there, or maybe we just need to release, the fear of it not working the way we want it, right? The fear of failure. So any of that that's going on, it's a great time to reflect, like, am I making enough room for fun and self-expression? And is there anything holding me back from being more in that state? Okay, beautiful. Let's move on to earth signs. Okay, so we have Taurus rising. This is in your 12th house. Yes, this is all about deep inner reflection. Okay, spiritual breakthroughs and endings before new beginnings. And so you're closing out some kind of chapter, especially on a spiritual side. Like this could be also closing out a chapter on releasing old wounds, right? And a focus on healing. It could be a great time to take more alone time. Like maybe you want to be out in nature, but you want to be by yourself and you want to really allow yourself to expand on your thoughts and what your true beliefs are. Maybe you have felt that you've been carrying someone else's beliefs. Maybe you felt that your past experiences have hindered you as an adult and you would really like to let that go. Well, spending some time really focusing and intentionally looking at those thoughts and those processes is going to be amazing for you right now because you're already feeling drawn towards that. You're already feeling like, gosh, I wish I didn't believe this about myself. I've really come to understand that I might have a block here. Like now's a great time to really dive into that. And that might mean that it's an uphill battle before it's done, right? It might feel like that sometimes, but I can promise you the work that you put into healing the mind is the most beneficial work you will ever do. I can promise you that because I've seen it in my own life. This helps you in all areas. It helps you in your physical body as well as your emotional state and with your relationships. It helps you really take a step back and not be reactionary. And so this is like super beneficial for everybody who feels so called to work on those wounds. I just want to be in your cheering section because I know at the other side of this, you're going to feel like nothing can stop you. Okay. So if this is you, I would highly recommend looking into doing some private sessions or even just doing a course around a certain thing that maybe you're having an issue with. Like for instance, at courses.aubreybarr.com, you can find self-paced sessions around clearing money programs, especially from childhood, or even things like when you feel bad about your body, you're not comfortable in your body. So there's just like different things there that might be super helpful for you at this time. All right, moving into Virgo rising. This is me, you guys. I'm sure I say that every time, but the sun is in our 8th house. So this highlights transformation. It also highlights shadow work, like the 12th house does. There's a connection between the 8th and 12th house, actually. And it highlights financial matters. So you may be dealing with deep emotional shifts, shared resources. This is like your 401k. This is like, oh my gosh, it's tax season. This is investments, all of that. In this house, there's also some fears and power and control happening in this house and even psychological issues. And then there's also the focus here of death and rebirth, which is similar to the 12th house, which is more endings and undoing. So there's a lot of similarities here, but the main focus here is like that transformation vibe is definitely strong right now. And part of that is because of the other astrological implications that are happening right now with this eclipse portal that we're in. That is main focus anyway. And so we're shining a bigger light on that part of us. And this is a great time to get into the transformation work, right? The shadow work. I typically don't call it shadow work because I'm all about the subconscious mind and I love to be able to reprogram the mind and then leave it feeling in a better state. And so shadow work always has this negative connotation for people, but it truly is that part of us that we are finally at an age and recognition now where we could be like, this is something I need to work on and I'm going to. And I'm going to come out the other end happier and more fulfilled and without these roadblocks, right? And so really focusing on that right now, it's like you're already on this upward trajectory towards the end of this. And I know it may not feel like that. It may feel like you're in the depths. It may feel like you're stuck in it right now and nothing's working. But I can promise you that everything you do to heal in your life right now, regardless of the category it falls under, is going to bring you forward in such momentum. You have no idea. Okay. You don't know that the blessings that are coming your way are already en route. It feels like they're not, but I can promise you that these are going to compound and it's going to be an amazing place to step into this power on the other side of this. So what old patterns do you need to let go of so you can fully step into that power and step into that new version of yourself, as I like to say? That's going to be your focus right now. And again, I'll put all of my stuff in the show notes. If there's anything that feels like it'll be helpful to you, follow that. Let's see where that takes you. Okay. Moving on to Capricorn rising, this is happening in your 4th house. Okay, so the sun is moving into your 4th house, which puts the focus on your home, your family, and your emotional security. So think physical security in that space, but also emotional. Okay, it's a great time to refresh your living space. You might feel like, oh my gosh, I really need to do this spring cleaning. It might be hitting you harder than it is for other people. And my Capricorn risings, maybe that's your story a lot with life because you tend to be very responsible and somebody who is going to be a little bit more organized than some of us. And so maybe you always feel that way, but it's like extra hard right now. And understand too that since we're in this eclipse portal, we are still healing here. So we're healing not just our home life, but those family wounds. So you've got to understand that the fourth house also represents our ancestors and our roots, like deep roots. Okay. And so here, I would suggest you looking into what kind of generational traumas have my family been passing down the line. And you may be, my beautiful Capricorn rising, you may be in the position to help heal those things, right? Because those continue to be passed down through our lives, through the next generation, if we don't tackle them, if we don't liberate our family from those wounds. And wow, what a beautiful opportunity we have to do that. This is one of the most profound experiences that I've had in my life, is to be able to release those wounds that my family has passed down. In fact, I had a really amazing spiritual experience when I had of being able to release my family from some deep wounds that my grandpa had experienced. And so there's opportunities like that out there, but you've got to be willing and open to explore that, right? It doesn't just come upon you and say, hey, by the way, take care of this. No, it's understanding what could they have been going through? What kind of ideas, what kind of belief patterns were keeping them in this state of scarcity or fear? So if you're someone that feels like this is coming up for you, I challenge you to take a minute and kind of journal around that. Like, do you recognize patterns of limiting beliefs that have been passed down the family line? And if so, you get an opportunity to kind of dig into that. Now, if you're someone who's dealing with a lot in your current home environment right now with your spouse and maybe your kids, or maybe feeling emotionally insecure there, I don't want you to do all this ancestry stuff. I want you to really look at your home environment and say, what in this environment can I change to help it to nourish people that I love, right? Is there something, maybe it's changing rooms with someone, maybe it's like as simple as just doing a refresh and making things brighter and maybe adding your favorite candle or something like that, that can really just change up the feeling in this home. And I would also encourage you to bless your house. And I know that sounds kind of woo for a lot of people, but I always do an energy cleanse of my house, and it's a very simple practice that anybody can do. I mean, it can literally be as simple or difficult as you would like, but you could just watch light shine in through your house and clear out all the corners and shine out and just feel like it's sweeping the energy through. It could be that simple. All right, moving on to my air signs. I've got Gemini rising. This is happening in your 11th house. So this sun in your 11th house is bringing in new beginnings in friendships, okay? This is your broader friendships, like not that one person you always go to necessarily, but like a group or networking or even like a social media space and long-term dreams. Okay, so that's all happening here. So you may be making new connections. And with the eclipse portal that's happening right now, I do think that a lot of us are experiencing, especially you Gemini rising, a dumping of old friends. And that sounds mean, but really some of them are just leaving on their own fruition. And some it's like, well, that kind of doesn't fit me anymore or something like that. And it's more of just like a walking away. It may not be abrupt, but some might feel more abrupt. It might be like, well, we broke up, right? So understand that that's already happening. But with the sun coming in here, it's saying, hey, let's bring in new ones then. Okay, we've cleared out the space. Now we have room for new groups and new friendships. And that's something to be excited about. Okay, so launching a project, especially for my Gemini risings here, because I just had this thought too. You come off as very energetic and very talkative. People love speaking with you. So big friend groups are kind of a big deal to you. They're kind of part of your life. And so this is going to be a really transformational thing for you. So you can do new connections here for sure. Also launching a project, something that's more long-term, something that maybe you're looking into, the next few years of your life. This is a great time for that. And maybe even stepping into a leadership role somewhere, even in your community or in this new friend group, or maybe it's a networking group, right? You can create a new networking group for sure that maybe meets the standards of what you've been looking for. That would be really cool too. What else do we have in the 11th house? We have also humanitarian pursuits, okay? And then also there's social recognition. And like I said, those long-term goals. So like your hopes and your dreams. So what in your life is feeling unaligned with this person that you'd like to be in the future, right? Maybe it's a great time to just sit down and have a journaling session with yourself and say, okay, all of this stuff is happening. I've got something new coming in. Who are the people that align with my future self? If this is who I want to be, do these other people fit that standard? Or are they people that maybe I want to start distancing myself from? Or maybe they've already distanced themselves from you and you haven't felt good about it. It's a great time to kind of reorganize what that kind of looks like in your future. Because you may find that all of the people that have left your life recently is actually for your good, and it's for this new version that's coming in. So, all right, Libra rising, this is in your 7th house. So the sun is coming into the 7th house. Okay. This is your partnership. This is your spouse. This is that one-on-one relationship that you either don't have or you're in, right? It could hit you in either way. And then there's also collaborations here. If we're thinking about the business mind, you can have super close business contracts and collaborations in this house, okay? So you may feel the urge to redefine your relationship dynamics or attract new aligned connections. Also, remember that for the last month and going into April still, Venus is in retrograde. Okay. And so when that happens, our relationships that we're in, two things can happen. Okay. We're either falling deeper in love and we're finding ways to make a connection that's more lasting, right? It really solidifies that relationship you're already in. Or if you've had a disconnect from your partner, it brings that to the surface and it says, hey, can we work this out? Right? I also know people that are finalizing divorces right now, and that's very common in Venus retrograde. We also see celebrities and whatnot that will announce their breakups during Venus retrograde. But on the flip side of that, I have, like, for example, a niece that just got engaged after been dating for a little bit. And we've been thinking this was going to happen. And of course it happens during Venus retrograde because it's also a great time to really solidify that relationship with that other person and make that commitment. Okay. There's also pregnancy announcements right now, which is a beautiful thing, but that's just further, well, we're in it to win it, right? Like this is it. So it's really a beautiful place for endings and beginnings in relationships. And if you've been in a relationship for a long time, you've been through several of these Venus retrogrades and you're still hanging in there. And so take that with a grain of salt and understand that this is the way that we deepen those connections that we have with our partner. So you may feel the urge to also attract new aligned connections here. I'm thinking from a business standpoint. Maybe on your mind, you've been thinking, oh, it'd be nice to do a collaboration with someone, but who's that person and all sorts of things. Someone might come into your life where you can do that now, or you might be the one to reach out to someone. If you do feel that connection and think, oh, I would love to do a podcast episode with so-and-so, or I'd love to do a webinar, really follow that urge because this could be a really good connection for you. Okay, so for you guys with Libra rising, ask yourself, am I showing up in relationships as my most authentic self? If you come up with something here, it's a great time to heal it. And it's a great time to come to an understanding of what you really want in relationships and how you want to show up for other people. Okay. All right. For my Aquarius rising, this is happening in your 3rd house. The sun is coming in and it's shining a light on a fresh start in communication. Okay. Learning and a daily mindset. Okay. This is a great time to be listening to podcasts like you are now. This is a great time to write and speak and communicate what you are learning. Okay. You have a mission here to show the world how you are so different. Aquarius is very different. They can see the world. They're like in the world, but not of the world. That's how I think about it. But with having Aquarius in your 3rd house, now imagine it's always there. Okay. But now we're shining a light on it. And so maybe you have felt like, well, I don't really like the way I've been communicating with people, or I could see like there's this disconnect and maybe people aren't listening and maybe I'm not really engaging the way I would like to. This is a good time to reorganize that. It's like, hey, that's okay. You can change that. Okay. And you're probably getting some clarity too around your communication and around writing, right? Where it's like, okay, in the past, this hasn't really worked for me. How can I change this up? And I finally see that I need to first address it a certain way or whatever it is you're coming to. But the clarity is going to be big here. So be courageous. Okay. Say what you mean, but I'm not just talking about speaking. Okay. Maybe this is like you get to launch a podcast. Maybe this is like you finally get to write a little bit more. Now, it's not so much like the ninth house where that's more publishing a book, but maybe it's writing on your Facebook. Maybe you want to say a heart-filled message, or maybe you want to explain your opinion and you feel like a really big draw towards sharing that part of you with everybody else in your world. Absolutely do that. There's a lot of social media pull too here in the third house because that is how we kind of communicate with the world these days. So that putting your best foot forward, so to speak, and maybe sharing a post or uplifting in some way, this could be a good way to start conversations that are meaningful to you too. I know that there's a lot of angst and things out in the world right now, and people are kind of combative, especially with it being Mercury retrograde. But think about it, like I was saying earlier, how we have these ideas and we don't act on them. So if you've already had this idea for a certain kind of post or maybe showing up more in social media, maybe you want to finally do the TikTok like I'm finally doing, whatever it is, it's a good time to also just move on that because it's already been there. So it's not like it's a new idea since Mercury retrograde. If you've already had it and you've already felt like a pull towards that, then it's a great time to follow through with that. Okay. So, but I see this definitely as a way to have meaningful conversations. I don't see it as like just posting to be funny or just posting just to be like, oh, this is what I think about this. Like it really feels like there's this pull towards wanting to engage with community here. And so you're not somebody that just willy-nilly wants to put it out there. You're very thoughtful about it. And I love that with this placement. And so understanding the sun being here is adding more inspiration into that. And that's why I said maybe it's more inspirational or meaningful. So really lean into that. And what do you want to share? Just ask yourself, how can I use my voice more powerfully right now? Because you are being called to do that, and see what you come up with. All right, for my water signs, yay. So Cancer rising, this is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house of public image, career, reputation, and big life. Okay. This is like it. This is how people see you. This is the very top of your chart. Okay. So it's the most visible of you. Okay. Now, I have my natal sun in my 10th house, and I can tell you it's been difficult, but you do always feel like there is a light shining on your public image. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. And sometimes you learn to work with that. And sometimes you finally just give up and say, okay, they're all watching me, but maybe they're not really, right? It just feels that way. But you're Cancer rising. And so you have this emotional part of you that you may have been wanting to hide away because it's not, gosh, it's just not as accepted to be emotional, is it? It's not as accepted to show that on your core, like on the outside of you, where you're wearing your heart on your sleeve, so to speak. And this is actually happening in a public house, in a career place. And so there might be some kind of, let's say, confusion about how you really want this to look in your life. And that's okay. But understand that you're getting this extra push of boldness and courage here. And that sun is going to say, look, if you feel so inclined to be in the limelight for a certain thing, now is the time. And so it's asking you to kind of put on those boots and get out there, girl, or whatever. But it really is, it's really giving you that extra courage and that extra support that you need. So if you're in more of a corporate workplace, let's say, you might be stepping into a leadership role here. If you've been sitting on the fences about a business idea and you really think maybe I want to start my own business, you might be doing that here, right? Because it might be more of a personal goal and putting yourself out there and finally sharing with people, well, I started my own business. Redefining success is also something that may happen here, because you might find that success isn't through your career, but it's more through your public image. And we see this a lot with social media, right? People will have their own 9 to 5, or maybe they run their business, but then their social media is a bit different. And it's a business on its own just because it's a persona and it's, let's say, an influencer. And I don't mean that in a It has such a negative connotation, but the truth is that people look to certain people, and you have the sun in your 10th house. People are going to look to you right now. And so how do you show up in that? Ask yourself, when you're really kind of mulling this over, which direction do I want to go? And if you are seeking more clarity, you will get that. But ask yourself, like, what legacy am I building? Because that's the bigger picture here. It's not just that one job. It's like, what legacy, right? What am I doing with myself? Such a cool placement for you guys. I hope you are running with it, and let me know if you feel like that resonates with you. All right, Scorpio rising. This is happening in your 6th house. So here comes this beautiful Aries sun into your 6th house, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need a different daily routine. I need different work habits. I've got to focus on my health. I've got to focus on my nutrition, all of that. Okay. And I could tell you my husband is a Scorpio rising, and he absolutely is doing that right now. And he doesn't even know I'm saying that, but it's true. He really is. It's not a bad thing. Okay. It's just showing you maybe where the hiccups are. Maybe it's saying, hey, I know you've been doing it this way, but it doesn't seem to be working that way anymore. I think you need to change it up. Right? So it's a great time to create structure around that daily routine. If you don't have a daily routine and it's simply just a habitual get up, brush your teeth, get your clothes on, get out the door, it might be a good time to say, what else can I add to my life by getting up 10 minutes earlier? Or in what ways would it help me if I had more time in the morning to meditate or to say a prayer or to, drink a full glass of water before I head out the door? Whatever it is, okay? And then we pull in the work here because that is your everyday routine. And so it doesn't matter if you have a 9 to 5 or if you're running your own business, your work habits every day do belong in this house, the 6th house. And there might be some shakeup there. And you might have felt a little bit off your rocker the past few days, or maybe even the past few months. You might have felt like something was off a little bit with your work habits, and maybe you felt like you need a new beginning here. It's a great time for that. It's an absolutely great time for that. It's a good time to improve your wellness. Focus on what you're eating. If that means you have to, keep track of things. If you've been having any kind of physical ailment or health related things going on, that might have been pointing you in the direction to look at your food more. So I would encourage you to maybe keep a log of what you've been eating and how you've been feeling after. If that's something that's resonating with you, I feel like that's a big one for people right now. So understand what you're actually putting in your body and what the repercussions of that are. That might be something on your mind anyway. There's also a chance here that you feel like changing your job environment. And so if that's your home office, yeah, you might be looking at a spring cleaning coming up here. You might be feeling like maybe I don't want to just work in my office. I want to also work in my bedroom for a couple minutes, or I want to go outside for a little bit. Any of that works as changing your daily habits. And again, you might be feeling a pull towards that anyway. And it could be that on your lunch break or the 10 minutes that you stop in the middle of the day, you actually go walk around instead of just sitting somewhere else and eating or something like that. So ask yourself, how can I be more intentional with my daily habits in all these areas? Okay, how can I be more intentional? All right, my Pisces rising. This is our last one, and it's the 2nd house. This is a big house for money. It's your everyday income. It's also your self-worth and your financial opportunities. Okay, so this is one of the bigger houses because there's so much happening here. Okay, we've got that daily income. If that's been weighing on your mind, if you feel like you haven't been making enough, or you'd like to even look at your budget and kind of reorganize that, that's a big deal right here. But there's also this added self-worth element. And so those two are connected much more deeply on the subconscious mind than people realize, because a lot of times we're saying we're not worth a certain amount of money, or we're not worth making more. We're not worth raising our prices, but we don't realize it because it is such a limiting belief and it's so deep in our subconscious that we don't realize that's what we're doing. So it's a great time for you guys to take out the trash here, okay? Really focus on that money story you've been telling yourself. There's some excellent books you can read, like The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, Get Rich Lucky Bitch, Wait, is that what it's called? Okay, it sounds bad when I say it, but that is what it's called. So I'm just going to leave it there. But there's a lot of things that go on in the subconscious part of our mind that dictate our income. I've seen such a huge connection here with the work that I do and with myself. I have a lot of things happening in my second house, including my moon, my Pluto, and Saturn, like all conjunct. And so I've had to learn and relearn lessons on self-worth and money pretty much all the time. It's a forever transformation. Thank you, Pluto. Okay. But it's also just a beautiful place to really see how differently our life can change when we focus on our self-worth and truly understanding that we do have some self-sabotage going on. Most of us don't even realize it, but we have these belief patterns either coming down generationally or how we were brought up that just make us feel so insignificant. And so being able to break those down is truly a gift that comes with time and it comes with effort and intentionality, but it springs up the most beautiful version of yourself that is confident and that knows their worth and has integrity and is not afraid to be the person that they see in their minds, right? It's a beautiful transformation is what I'm trying to say. And so do not fret having the sun happening here, but it is showing you where you can clean things up. It's showing you that light of like, this is where you need to focus on. If you've had some things going on with your business and maybe your business has been slow, it's looking at that and it's saying, hey, we need to change things up. We need to restructure here. We need to set financial goals. And you get to step into abundance when you do this. So there's like a huge payback. There's a huge return on your investment and your time here, my Pisces rising. So as you go through this stage in life, I want you to know that not only are you worth it, but you're going to receive so much more than you could imagine just by being able to work on how you feel about yourself and being able to shed those layers of you that don't feel worthy of things. Okay. It's a truly amazing place. And if you're having struggles with that, I do have a couple programs available to everybody at courses.aubreybar.com. I have a course there called Money Mindset Detox, and it has stages where you go through your self-worth with money, but also we do generational work and we do a lot of reprogramming around that. So it's exceptional for those of you that are feeling like, okay, I need to take care of this. This is actually impacting my life every day. And then further on that note, you can sit down and just ask yourself, do I truly believe I'm worthy of the life I desire? And see what you come up with there, because there might be some really aha moments that come up for you. All right, friends. So this was such a long episode, but I'm so happy to be able to give it to you on this new year, the spring equinox, which is happening now. This is a great time, you guys, to really usher in what you've been wanting and what you've been desiring. And it's a great, motivating, courageous energy for you guys to act on. So I'm super excited for what you come up with here. If you had any aha moments during this recording, go ahead and email them to me. I love reading these, you guys. I think it's amazing. I love the community that I'm building, and I love to be able to hear back from you guys what resonates with you. My email is aubrey@abstoryteller.com. And I just encourage all of you guys to listen and reflect right now. Where is this fresh start happening for you? I'm so excited to hear what you guys come up with. As always, if this was inspiring to you or gave you some clarity, please share it with a friend, leave us a review, hit subscribe, all the fun stuff. It's free for you, but it means the world to me. And if you're looking for a more in-depth personal reading from me, I do still have my aligned star map readings on the courses page. I will link it below. And these are like super cheap right now, you guys, because I'm still in the process of getting my certification. And so when that is up, they will be much, much more. So grab them while you can. I am loving being able to do these for people. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. We'll talk soon.